Hurricane Idalia, there's the radar. They're heading to Florida, and there's not a whole lot of time to prepare here. Let's go to Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell, monitoring Idalia as it heads toward Florida, and is with us from Tallahassee this morning. And Brandy, Idalia could make landfall tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, that's right. In the early morning hours of Wednesday. So a lot of people are going to be asleep, but hopefully paying attention, especially if they're planning to hunker down. But I want to note right now, I'm just outside of the Emergency Operations Center here in Tallahassee. There are representatives inside for different state agencies, all working together to get Florida through this time, especially with landfall expected to happen overnight. So now they're going into a 24-hour operation. A lot of people likely hunkering down here and staying here at the EOC. Now, Governor Ron DeSantis, he actually just wrapped up a press conference that started at the top of the 9 a.m. hour. And he just talked about how, for one, the path that this storm is taking has kind of been a rarity for Florida. He said we have to go back to the 1800s to see a storm that has come this path to hit the Big Bend area of Florida. It's not a commonality, but it's also an area that isn't highly populated, so that's maybe the bright side of all of this. But he did say there's a lot of trees in this area, especially here in Tallahassee, so we can expect a high wind to knock a lot of those down and unfortunately cause power outages. He also said if it hits at high tide, some areas could get storm surge of 8 to 12 feet. So that, of course, if you're trying to hunker down in those areas, that could definitely be dangerous. And so he just says, he wants people to avoid putting their life in danger. So with that being said, there are several evacuation orders. 22 counties, they put out orders. About half of those are mandatory. The others, those are voluntary or encouraged. On top of that, the tolls are being suspended on some counties on the West Coast to help people out a little bit during this time. Let's take a listen to what DeSantis also had to say about this storm and evacuations.
You don't need to leave the state. You don't need to drive hundreds of miles. You don't have to try to outrun the storm. If you're in those low-lying areas, the reason why they're advising you to evacuate is because you're going to be susceptible to storm surge. And so if you get to a place that's higher ground in a safe structure, you can ride out the storm there and then go back to your home once the storm passes and all is clear.
This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. I'm going to be covering this, I'm sure, more and more over the next couple of days with the Hurricane Idalia, which, of course, is being sent by our own government to wipe out Florida over and over and over again, is what they're doing. I mean, they're sending weaponized weather all around the country, and people just are turning a blind eye to it because they don't want to believe that this is a possibility that their government could be doing it, and also the fact that they don't think it's something that can be done. With all the science that we have in this world, they couldn't possibly do that, even though they constantly shown us, like in the videos I've shown over and over and over again, time and time again, even the mainstream media covering, they could do that with the weather and trying to deflect like, hey, well, they would never do it with the weather, but it's just something they've tried out, and that's what HAARP's there, is sitting there for, right? Because they're just, having fun with your tax money. They don't really have any intentions to do anything. Just like, when they had this technology 100 years ago. See, they can get away with it now, of course, because how stupid people are. So the Hurricane Idalia, look at these headlines, okay? And I'm going to talk about St. Petersburg, Florida. If you didn't see the video I did about how conveniently at the same time this is happening where people are trying to evacuate, people are not able to fill their gas tanks because, well, now the gas stations are closing because there's been a mixture of diesel fuel with regular fuel, and that would cause cars to break down. So, people are just kind of stuck. But that's just another coincidence. So if you didn't see that video, definitely go look for it. It's my last video before this one. You have to watch that. It's so unbelievable. You have to see it for yourself. But look at these headlines with Idalia. And then I'm going to show you how this is part of their strategic plan, not just to wipe out and ruin lives and kill people and to herd people into FEMA camps, but also to put in and implement smart cities. And this is a perfect example. This isn't some conspiracy. This isn't just because it happened in Maui that suddenly, people like me who are pretty much the first people to talk about this when it happened in Maui, about the smart cities and the smart city plan, telling you, oh, well, it happened there, now it's going to happen here, and it's going to happen there. It's obviously strategically happening. And they're using different means, right? They're burning places out like Maui. They're hitting with hurricanes all up the west and east coast. And what else do we see happening? They're letting crime run amok. So small business owners are put out of business or decide to leave. They're flooding places out with weather. They're doing all these different things at once, and people just don't see it because they're too distracted on their cell phones, looking at things that are just completely unimportant, entertaining themselves with Mr. Beast videos of pointless crap And then, of course, making themselves feel like they're important in society, patting themselves on the back. And, of course, donating to charities every time they buy something at a store, not being suspicious as to why every time they check out somewhere, they ask you to donate to your local charity, which doesn't go to a charity, by the way. Of course, common sense would tell all of us that, but these people don't want to believe that. So look at the headlines here. Idalia could be a once-in-a-lifetime event for Tampa and parts of the Florida coast. St. Petersburg officials are preparing for Hurricane Idalia as if, quote, we could get a direct hit. Very suspicious words, right? Like a direct hit. You know, don't you usually hear that like with missiles, right? Like Top Gun, when they fire the missile at the target, beep, beep, locked on target, direct hit, right? We hear that. Direct hit is just a military term when you're striking a missile. So it's kind of funny that they're like, it's a direct hit. That would mean that you're like being targeted, right? You know, you would just say, oh, we're going to get crushed. We might get hit by Idalia, but you don't usually hear people say a direct hit because, again, that would be like hitting the target. And that's exactly what I believe that this is with Idalia. So they're calling it a once-in-a-lifetime event. And then St. Petersburg is being highlighted here as a direct target. And what's very interesting about St. Petersburg is the fact that St. Petersburg has been chosen to bring in what is called Spectrum and start creating a smart city. Now, I'm going to show you some clips here, and you're going to see common themes with the smart city, including the fact that a few months ago, St. Petersburg approved zoning changes on about 3,000 properties in St. Petersburg, kind of like we heard in Maui with the zoning situation. And what happens when they do these zoning situations? The people refuse to participate and go along with it. They actually protest it. So people, of course, naturally have no interest in what they're trying to do here. They're opposed to it. So when you're opposed to it, well, guess what? We'll just wipe you out with the weather. And of course, as you'll hear in this video here, you'll hear from this company Spectrum talking about smart cities and the implementation of smart cities and how they have some of these pieces in place already. But don't be deceived by some of the pieces in place, meaning 5G towers and smart, having smart, meters as far as, toll meters to park your car and things like that. It's about everything being connected, including almost like an Amazon Go store. If you're not familiar, I'll show you a clip at the end. But, being able to go into a store, pick something up and walk out without paying, without swiping, under full surveillance. There's cameras everywhere, logging and monitoring every single action being taken. And of course, everything's connected to Wi-Fi, of course, including you. But take a look at this video. Now remember, the video I'm showing you here, and then remember that article I just showed you, St. Petersburg, a direct hit. Well, is this a coincidence with St. Petersburg?
The question is, how much is it going to cost? St. Petersburg is the newest city to be chosen to be transformed into a smart city. It's a push to change the way that neighbors in the area live, work, and play. Under a 3-year grant, Spectrum will provide wired and wireless network services focused on the St. Pete Innovation District. Local leaders want to use these new resources to create advanced applications and services that address local needs, including infrastructure, workforce development, public safety, education, and community health.
As pilot projects occur, we will gain insight about what works for our community. Then we can expand those programs throughout the region and share with other cities. We have the Smart Streetlight Project, which will be equipped with sensors, and then an online marine science education program where we're going to be having researchers in the field and out on research vessels connected to kids and our Boys and Girls Clubs here in the community.
St. Petersburg joins 26 other cities in the program, which was launched by US Ignite. That nonprofit is working to speed up the smart city movement.
My name is Patty Zullo. I'm Senior Director of Smart City Solutions for Spectrum Enterprise.
Hi, I'm Martin Tadlock. I am the Chancellor here at the University of South Florida St. Petersburg campus.
So I'm Allison Barlow, the Executive Director of the St. Petersburg Innovation District. Today was a Smart City Showcase. So it was an opportunity for us to show off the projects we've been doing for the last 3 years.
And it's really exciting to be able to mention a couple of things to you about our partnership with Smart City here in the middle of the Innovation District of St. Petersburg.
And it was the first time we've been able to do this in a hands-on format because of COVID. The last time we had to do it in a virtual manner. And it was nice because we were able to take elected officials, community leaders, community members over to see the tools, the equipment, and also a chance to look at the data on the dashboards.
So, smart cities are different in every single city you talk to. There really is no boilerplate on what makes a smart city. There are some key elements, though, that every single smart city in the world takes advantage of. The first one is a strong, robust, ubiquitous network. That's really important. The second is to have sensors and devices deployed throughout the city. And the third is to have a very sophisticated data platform to be able to collect all of that data, be able to analyze it, leverage it, and most importantly, visualize it to be able to use in the city.
For example, we have environmental sensors that have been located in this region now as a result of our partnership, and our students are collecting that data in a data analytics course, and they're analyzing that data. So we're really excited about this partnership and where it's providing opportunities for our students to go.
So one of the things that Smart Cities truly brings to a city is the art of the possible conversations. So here in St. Pete, for instance, what we're doing is we've deployed smart lighting throughout the city, where we're collecting data and we're deploying environmental sensors and allowing the city to see in different areas of the city what kind of data they're collecting and how to use that data. The second deployment that we have is a smart intersection, and that smart intersection is looking on how people are using the intersection, how cars and bikes and pedestrians are using the intersection, and all of that data is being collected and driven back to the city to help them with their planning of better streets.
So they're flat out telling you that they want St. Petersburg to become a smart city. And again, I've talked about Florida being a honeypot. People have been commenting, they're very upset about that. I've been talking about it for years, so I understand new people, they don't want to hear that. They're immediately upset. They're like, no, I'm not in a honeypot. Well, nobody wants to be in a honeypot, but you're noticing the ramp up of weather. I even had somebody yesterday tell me that the water is warmer in Florida, so that's why all this is happening. The water's usually warm in Florida, so I'm sorry if it's 5 degrees warmer, it's not a big deal. Like I said yesterday, if you could put an egg in the ocean and make a hard-boiled egg out of it, then I'm convinced that the seas are warming. But let's not get ridiculous that because the water's a little bit warmer that you're getting drilled with hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, all of which are being called direct hits, of course, conveniently, right? And the zoning issue, right? Same theme in Maui, right? Maui has these meetings about how they want to implement smart cities in Hawaii, and they're the greenest place that there is, right? Oh, what a coincidence. And then they have the event coming up about AI governance in September. Artificial intelligence governance. Who's talking about artificial intelligence governance? Oh, the World Economic Forum, the ones who were responsible for it, the globalists, the ones who were responsible for it, Democrats who support this and are just so dumbed down that they refuse to see it. So those are coincidences, right? Same here with St. Petersburg, right? And Tampa Bay getting drilled. And these are places that want to implement smart cities. And of course, conveniently before they implement these the way that they want to, because remember, they're going to have to destroy everything to bring these in, to make these, get small business owners have to be gone. Okay, small business owners are going to be wiped out. Anybody who stands in a smart city that might portray themselves as a small business owner, I guarantee you will be owned by these big corporations, and they'll just try to make it look like the little man. They do this all the time. They do this at the grocery store, like the illusion of choice, right? You have Cheerios, and then you have brand X underneath it, right? It's some random brand of Cheerios. Like, it's the same thing, but it's just some other producer, and they have no affiliation with Cheerios. Oh yeah, Cheerios actually owns them. Right, that would be the same thing here to give the illusion as if, we didn't run all the small business owners out. They're still there. It'll be a facade. But the zoning issues, the people were not interested in it. So it looks like they're flooding them out. Here's a clip about the zoning in St. Petersburg.
Today, St. Petersburg City Council members could make drastic changes to the number of homes that can be built on a single lot. And on your sides, Beth Rousseau joins us now live from St. Pete this morning with the reason thousands of residents are worried about the City Council approving this measure. Good morning, Beth.
Hey, Chris, and this is a plan that city leaders say has been in the works for years, and they say it really could go a long way to address affordable housing issues, which they talk about here at City Hall all the time. However, 3,000 residents have signed a petition, and they say they're concerned for a number of reasons.
Where are these people going to park? Yes, they're going to then start intruding into the neighborhood, and then if they have friends or family over, they're going to be parking into the neighborhoods, blocking the alleys.
The plan City Council is considering allows up to 4 residential units to be built on a single-family lot, and this is within 175 feet of the center line of major streets like 15th and 22nd Avenues South. Occupants would then access their parking through alleys behind those homes. City leaders tell us that the price per square foot would be much more affordable than those detached single-family homes that we typically see in those neighborhoods.
What's key to this is that we have design standards so that the scale, the height of these buildings is consistent with single-family homes.
So, the people don't want these zoning restrictions. They don't want them meddling in their lives, which is pretty much what all of us are saying. We don't want our government meddling in our lives, and that's all that they're doing. They want more than just in your life. They want in your bank account. They pretty much want inside of people's bodies, as we know. They want in every crevice of your body. I mean, I could go into deeper detail about how sick they are, but I won't, because it's pretty obvious at this point how sick they really are, because look at the intentions. Look what they're doing. Look how they're calling us all terrorists, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way they're going to be implementing smart cities. I mean, what did you think? People were just going to voluntarily sign up a city? How do you even do that, right? So even if the governor or the mayor, let's just use New York as an example, Mayor Adams in New York, who's playing his role perfectly. Let's just say that he was like, we're going to make New York a smart city. People would be like, okay, what does that mean? You're going to put in some, street lights with cameras and other stuff. And like, yeah, well, the whole city has to be a smart city. Everything has to be connected through Wi-Fi. Everything has to have artificial intelligence governance behind it. So what does that mean? Well, that means you would think that, well, we're going to do this, but wait a minute, but this guy owns this building. And that guy owns that building. And that guy owns that store. And they don't want to be a part of that. And you're elected as a mayor to represent them. So you don't have say in how they run their business. You don't have say in that. You can't go inside of there and tell them they have to do this or that and they have to get rid of cash and go pay, cashless in their store. They can't do that. So how do they get rid of them? Well, you tell me. What do you think? Mayor Adams is going to send the military to a regular store and shoot the guy that runs the store, tell the guy to get out, take his bags, pack them up like the mob and run them out? And you don't think the people would unite and rise up against it despite being Democrat or Republican? They would rise together actually on it because they say, well, that's messed up. That's not fair. That's not right. So what do they do instead? Well, they use things like this. They'll just wipe you out, right? They'll come in and say, we're going to do zoning stuff. They see that nobody wants to be a part of it. And obviously then they could just do things like this. So they'll just wipe out towns with weather. They'll just wipe towns out by letting the criminals run amok, right? Letting people commit crimes on purpose. You ever seen a time period where the news is covering crimes at all these stores and it's no big deal? They're like, yeah, 30 people just robbed Nordstrom's in a flash riot or flash robbery. I mean, just insane stuff that they coin with these terms to make it normal, that we're supposed to see that and be like, yeah, that's normal. A flash robbery, a flash mob robbery. Like, huh? Oh, yeah, well, it's a normal thing. No big deal. Oh, yeah, that's not coordinated at all by the government, by the way. This isn't a black ops operation or Antifa or any of these CIA operations. Of course they are. Right? So we're supposed to see those things and not be like, well, why aren't the police arresting them? They're just making it normal, like just be expecting it in your own town and not these people not to be arrested and not be held accountable for. That's all done by design, right? So the destruction of these cities to bring in these controlled smart cities, which are under artificial intelligence surveillance and governance. This is all part of the plan from the World Economic Forum. People should be able to connect the dots. We've all been screaming about these people since before the planned outbreak that occurred. And for those of you who have been around for long enough, even though I'm a new YouTuber, I'm sure you heard a channel that sounded similar to mine. Even in 2016, I was talking about how they were going to do everything they can to get a certain something in your body. And all that stuff happened. That's one of the reasons that channel got wiped off, is because there was all evidence of videos from 2016, 17, 18. People were finding it and they're like, how did this guy know? Right? How did all these people know that this was going to happen? Well, because it's pretty obvious. Now wake up, snap out of it, and let's do something about it. So they didn't want that out there. So it's the same thing here that they're doing with it. This stuff's all by design, and if people realize who was behind it, something could be done. I mean, why, if people out there who are MAGA, then why was Trump at the World Economic Forum? Why are these Republicans a part of it? Why is the Texas governor a part of the World Economic Forum? If you Google these people and you find their bios on their webpage, because they're working hand in hand, because they have to do this by destroying it from within. So the Republicans play their role, the Democrats play theirs. Otherwise, our government would be talking about these groups who are not elected, who are having governance over our countries. And they would stop it. But they don't, because they want it to happen. It's by design. And that's why if the people could separate from the left and right, this could be stopped. But unfortunately, they won't. And that's why they do things like they're doing with Trump, because it makes people more angry. And it makes people support Trump more. And they know that. That's why they're doing it. Otherwise, they'd be like, no, don't arrest him. That'll make people support him more. You know, he's showing that he's a rebel and he's against us and all this stuff. And we're obviously corrupt and rules for thee, not for me. So we wouldn't do that. They're doing it by design so that he gets more support, so that people stay stuck in the left and right. That's the whole point of this. So anyway, St. Petersburg now is looks like they're getting a direct hit, wink, wink. I wonder who called in that article to CNN. Looks like you're getting a direct hit. I mean, have you ever heard that before? They always show us the projection of these hurricanes, right, beforehand. How convenient, right? Because I wonder who's creating the pattern of the weather. Oh, they are. So then they show you where it's going because they're the ones creating it. I love how all the time they show us, like, oh, it's going to hit landfall in Florida. Has anyone heard direct hit? So they're pretty much telling us that St. Petersburg is going to be under heavy attack. Now, it doesn't mean that their plans can't foil. Of course, God's in control. And again, sometimes with a lot of these hurricanes, they do fizzle out. They don't exactly go as they hope, which is why they just keep doing it over and over and over and over again. Otherwise, they would just do one big hurricane and whip the whole state out. So they got to just keep doing it. They can only do it to a maximum capacity, which is what they try to do. And sometimes it doesn't do the maximum results that they want. Unless, of course, it's Maui. In that case, when they use a direct energy weapon, they could just automatically just fry these places out, which we're seeing in Louisiana now. We've been seeing in Canada. We're seeing around the world. So St. Petersburg. Well, remember too, before I finish up here, remember a few days ago, they were just like, oh, a tropical storm. Now they're saying it's a once in a lifetime event. Once in a lifetime. So they're obviously prepping people for some severe damage to be done here. On top of the fact that there's no gas conveniently for people to evacuate. I mean, it's absolutely sick what they're doing, but they know they can get away with it. That's why they're doing it. It's not a question of how sick they are. We know how sick they are. We know how sick Gates and all these absolute Satanists are. But it's a question of when were they able to do this stuff and get away with it in the open? And now is the time. Look how stupid Democrats are. Look how stupid Gen Z is. They're clueless, beyond words clueless. I've seen 1-year-olds, 18-month-olds who can't even use a toilet yet, who aren't potty trained, who are smarter than these people. And the scary part is not only are there 18-month-old children that are smarter than these people who are dumber than 18-month-olds are so prideful and narcissistic, they literally believe everything they hear and regurgitate it and think they have all the answers and know all, when in reality, they know nothing. And when they die, obviously, I mean, most of these people we know are going to hell because most of these people who think like this are not Christians. They are not saved through Jesus Christ, and that's the only way to salvation, despite these people who are atheists, which drive me nuts, constantly talking about heaven and hell, but then don't believe in the Bible. So go figure. That just shows their stupidity, right? And thinking that everybody who dies goes to heaven. I discovered the wrestler who died. All the wrestlers are like, oh, I'll see you in heaven soon. Well, oh, did he believe in Jesus? No, he didn't. Oh, so he's going to heaven. Why? Oh, well, because, I don't believe in that, but I believe people go to heaven. Well, why do you believe in the concept of heaven if you don't believe in God and Jesus Christ? Think about it. Oh, they don't think. So, they don't have to answer that question, do they? But, so what I was going to say is when they die, right, and God reveals everything to them, are these people going to just be like, are they going to turn like dead pale, beet red, I don't know, whatever. How are they going to feel when they realize not only were they stupid, but that every single thing that they believed and they pushed and they regurgitated was all a lie? Whether it's landing on the moon and stuff like that, that's really not that important at this point, or any of the other stuff like the potion. I mean, we can look at everything. All these events the government creates that they all call us crazy for calling people actors that are involved in it, that are agents, intel agents. I mean, these people are just going to combust on the spot. I mean, how embarrassing when you literally every single thing you believe is a lie. And again, Satan is the father of lies, and so are his minions who are pushing this on the people. So prayers for people in Florida. Obviously, anybody who's affected by weaponized weather, prayers for those people out there. Hopefully their homes stay safe. And I know people are like, who cares about their homes staying safe? Well, yeah. I mean, because once these people lose their homes, then they're pulled into these FEMA camps. Then they have control over them, especially, when an outbreak is right around the corner. What do you think is going to happen to those people who lose their homes, who didn't want to take a certain something? Then they're in FEMA camps and they say, oh, well, to stay here, you have to take this. And they're going to go, oh, wait a minute, what? And they're going to go, well, if they throw me out, where am I going to go? I'm going to have no food, no water. Where am I going to go? I'm going to die on the streets. So then they end up taking it. You see how this works? And again, that's stuff I cover over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. I highly recommend people check it out. But prayers for people, again, in St. Petersburg, in Florida, in Tampa, wherever this hits, because that's what you're going to continue to see as they roll in another, variant. They're going to roll in another one while people are just ushered into FEMAs, And then they're going to have that forced on them. So this is part of their plan, all done by design. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.